Hey friends, I'm Parrihoff, and welcome to the Parrihoff Collective, where therapy, wellness, and creativity come together to help you write your own story. Hey friends, and welcome back to Therapy Thursday with Parrihoff for the Parrihoff Collective, helping you write your own story. And today we're having a conversation that might be a little bit uncomfortable for some people, but I do think that it is 100% necessary. So today we're continuing our conversation on mental health and the church, and more specifically, why ministry is not a coping skill. Now, before we even get started, let me say this. This is not an attack on faith. This is not an attack on church. This is not an attack on serving. I believe in prayer. I believe in the fellowship. I believe in community, and I believe 100% in ministry. But I also believe that healing matters, and sometimes we have spiritualized things that actually need emotional attention. You can love God and still need healing. I think somewhere along the way, people started believing if I just pray enough, if I just serve enough, if I just worship enough, if I just show up enough, then eventually I won't feel what I feel anymore. But the truth is, spiritual activity is not the same as emotional healing. You can be gifted and still unhealed. You can love God and still struggle emotionally. You can serve faithfully and still avoid yourself completely. Ministry can become a coping skill because sometimes ministry becomes identity, distraction, validation, avoidance, or even emotional regulation. Instead of service flowing from healing, we use service to avoid healing. So, how do I know if I'm using ministry as a coping skill? Good question. Here are a few signs. Number one, you only feel valuable when needed. If your self-worth disappears the moment nobody calls you, nobody needs your help, you're not serving, you're not leading, you don't have the microphone, you're not pouring into others, then ministry may have become connected to your identity instead of your purpose. Number two, you stay constantly busy to avoid yourself. Some people overcommit because silence makes them uncomfortable. Because when everything gets quiet, they have to sit with who they are. They have to sit with grief, loneliness, insecurity, disappointment, anxiety, trauma, and unresolved pain. So activity becomes a distraction from those things. Number three, rest makes you feel guilty. If slowing down immediately creates anxiety, guilt, restlessness, or emptiness, then your nervous system may have learned to survive through usefulness and performance. I have another video about that I did a while back, so check that one out. And for the record, exhaustion is not the same thing as anointing. Number four, you are spiritually active but emotionally unavailable. This is a big one. You can preach, you can pray, you can sing, you can mentor, you can encourage everybody else and still avoid vulnerability, accountability, emotional intimacy, or your own healing process, because ministry can become a socially acceptable hiding place. Ministry should flow from healing, not replace it. That's the point. The issue is not serving. The issue is using spiritual activity to bypass emotional work. You cannot pour from an empty cup and call it anointing. So let's talk about the other side too, because this conversation has balance, okay? Some people over-involve themselves in ministry to avoid healing. And some people completely avoid community because of hurt. And that's important to talk about as well. Church hurt is real. Let me say that clearly. Church hurt is real. Spiritual manipulation is real. Hypocrisy is real. Disappointment is real. Bad leadership exists. And some people have genuinely been wounded in church spaces. That pain should not be minimized. But avoidance isn't always healing. At the same time, sometimes people use hurt as a reason to disconnect forever. And we have to talk about that too, because we've all been hurt in other environments. We've had bad restaurants, bad nail techs, bad mechanics, bad friendships, and bad relationships. And most of the time, we go right back there. Some of us have deep-seated Texas Roadhouse or Red Lobster hurt, but when asked, where do you want to grab dinner? Texas Roadhouse? I'm feeling like endless shrimp at Red Lobster. We eventually try again somewhere else or even at that same place. But with church hurt, people allow one painful experience or a series of painful experiences to completely isolate them from community, accountability, support, and connection. And I think that deserves reflection. I am in no way diminishing hurt or trauma, but I think we have to have a much more honest conversation. There is a difference between discernment and avoidance. Now hear me carefully. Boundaries are healthy. Protecting your peace matters, but protecting your peace and isolating yourself are not always the same thing. And discernment should not become a permanent excuse for disconnection. Sometimes we call it peace when it's really avoidance, and this is really hard. But some people avoid accountability, growth, vulnerability, correction, commitment, and healthy community, while calling it protecting their peace. But not every uncomfortable experience is toxic. Sometimes growth requires discomfort. Healthy healing requires balance. So no, I'm not saying tolerate abuse, ignore red flags, stay in harmful environments, overwork yourself in ministry, or abandon boundaries. That is not what I am saying. Absolutely not. But what I am saying is healing should lead to healthy connection, not performance or isolation. My final thought. At the end of the day, you can pray and you can go to therapy. You can love God and still need support. You can serve and still need healing. And ministry should never become the place where we hide from ourselves. Okay? And we'll talk about this more. This has been Parrihoff with the Parrihoff Project, reminding you that you always have the power to write your own story. Ta for now.